now that we're 3 minutes past the hour, I will give everyone the warmest of welcomes. Thank you once again, especially to those who have been to many of these seminars, to join us to discuss SMEs and the green and just transition. It's a very important topic that concerns all of us in the international development community. This webinar will explore how business environment reforms can support SMEs in advancing green and just transitions in emerging and in developing economies, especially. As global sustainability goals accelerate, it is increasingly urgent for us to ensure that smaller firms who provide most employment are not left behind. The report, the renewed SME agenda in the context of the green and just transition, was a policy brief commissioned by the DCED and the Business Environment Working Group of the DCED. It was commissioned in 2025. It investigates how policies, institutions, support systems can enable SMEs to adopt greener and more inclusive practices. The research combines a literature review, stakeholder interviews, and also country case studies from Malaysia, Peru, and Iraq to build a practical understanding of how reforms can lower barriers, create incentives, and expand opportunities for SMEs. The full report will be made available. I think it has by Ella. Thank you, Ella, for sharing the link to the full report. So while the report highlights the reform experiences of these countries, our speakers will be able to provide more insights into how policymakers and development partners are assisting SMEs in the green and just transition, what benefits and challenges the reforms have created, and the lessons for aligning business environment reforms with the goals of the green and just transition, like ensuring environmental sustainability, social justice, and decent work across all sectors and levels of development. This is also an opportunity to reflect on the role development partners have in supporting research, policy dialogue, and country-level reform efforts. Thank you for using the chat function to introduce yourselves and exchange ideas. Please, when we reach the Q&A stage, use the Q&A box. This is different than the chat box. Use the Q&A box to submit questions for speakers, and we will start collating them and putting them towards our panelists. So we have with us today the members of the DCED Business Environment Working Group, and as well as the lead researcher of this paper and colleagues from Malaysia and Iraq. So we have Jana Krajčovičová, which is the lead researcher for this report. Jana is an international development professional with over 14 years of experience in SME competitiveness, investment policy, carbon markets, and inclusive industrial development. She has worked with the World Bank Group and the private sector, development partners across Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. And at the DCED, she has led research on this topic, but it also builds on a previous report Jana produced for the DCED that looks at emerging environmental regulations and their implications. We welcome you to go to the DCED page and also take a look at that one because it's quite linked to our topic today. Tausalia Gopal is the Director of Economics and Policy Division of SME Corporation Malaysia. Her main task is to formulate strategies as well as provide strategic foresight leadership in SME development. This includes the development of the Business Strategic Plan 2022-2030 of the SME Corp Malaysia. She also leads the work on SME economic surveillance through analysis and projections, strategic studies, surveys, and the publication of the annual SME Insights and Economic Performance Reports. She also manages the international cooperation and SME ESG-related works at SME Corp Malaysia, and she has participated and provided her thoughts in various SME policy groups at local scenes as well as the international level. Welcome, Kausalia, to this panel. Amal Bani Awad is the project manager of the ILO's project towards more and better employment through enhanced support to private sectors with a focus on green business in Iraq, funded by Italy through AICS. With over 2 decades of experience in project management, social dialogue, and employment services across Iraq, Jordan, and Lebanon, she has led the development of Iraq's first national MSME policy, the Business Registration Guide, the National Green Business Plan. She has advanced green enterprise through the Green Business Camp, trained national trainers on various ALO programs and tools, and supported the localization of Making Micro and Green Finance Work in Iraq toolkit. She has also championed decent work for refugees and host communities, promoting employment opportunities, labor market integration, and inclusive enterprise development in crisis-affected countries. Welcome, Amal, as well to the panel. And you've heard enough from me. I would like to pass it over now to Jana to present the report. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pilar, and let me also join you in welcoming all the participants today. And let me maybe just kick off right away by getting to know our audience a little bit better. We have prepared 3 questions for the audience so that we understand a little bit more the type of organization you work at, which region you are joining from, and also the level of relevance of this topic in your current work. So Ella, if you could please share the questions, and I would ask the participants to choose the answer that fits to their specific situations. So the first question on the role, we're asking if you are a policymaker, a development partner, if you are working at an SME, research community, and so forth. The second question is really about the global region where you're currently based. And the third one, we'd like you to click on the level of relevance of this topic in your current work. So maybe we'll take a couple of more seconds. I cannot see how many responses we have, but maybe let's give a few more moments to collect some answers. So maybe we can already look at some results if we have them. Perfect. Thanks, Ella. So in terms of the role, we have quite, unsurprisingly, over half of the participants are from development partner or agency. We do have a couple of policymakers, SME representatives, and also researchers, which I think is a good mix of stakeholders reflecting also the nature of the topic, which really requires inputs from different types of stakeholders and looking for solutions jointly. In terms of the region, do we have some results? Perfect, yes. Okay, so we have most of the participants from Europe, actually, which is also where I am based. The second is Asia Pacific, followed by Africa, Middle East, Latin America, and Caribbean, and North America. So a fairly also even distribution with Europe and Asia Pacific leading in the representation. You will see that we have case studies from different regions. So I think those based in LAC, in Asia Pacific and Middle East will be very pleased to hear from them. But actually the recommendations apply across the board. So I believe they will be relevant for everyone. And in your view, how relevant is the topic in your country? Very relevant. SMEs must adapt urgently. I think is obviously the top answer, and the second one is somewhat relevant, but not yet a policy business priority. So this also very well aligns with the interviews and the research that underlines this report, or that backs up this report, where a lot of the interviewees actually mentioned that it is a top priority topic or one of the priority topics, despite the current political climate. So let's maybe move on to the presentation. Let me share my screen. So I hope you can already see my screen. All right. So as Pilar already mentioned, the focus of the report is on green and just transition of SMEs. And we are looking at the particular angle of business environment policies and reform approaches at the topic. And so before I get to the actual kind of findings of the report, let me just share with you some of the voices from the interviews that we came across during the research. So we have pulled up a couple of quotes. The first one from an SME policy expert working at an international organization, where he says there is no net zero without SMEs, yet most green transition policies are designed for larger firms, leaving small businesses without the tailored tools they need. So I think that, this quote reflects the challenge of many SMEs actually being overlooked by policy in many contexts, despite the fact that they are crucial for delivering on the climate agenda. Moving on to the next quote from a development practitioner from Iraq. For many SMEs in fragile contexts, green business is not yet a priority because survival comes first. This makes targeted incentives and simple tools even more important to get them on board. So again, yes, SMEs are obviously, especially in fragile contexts, juggling multiple priorities, often struggling to survive. And so policies that try to support green and just transition have to embed strong incentives and have to correspond to the level of capacity to the SMEs that they target. And the third quote at the bottom is from a representative of a national SME agency in Malaysia. SMEs are at very different stages of their ESG journey. Support instruments must be tailored to where they are, from early adopters to advanced firms, if we want the transition to be inclusive and effective. So this, I think, reflects the reality of policy instruments really having to take into consideration the specific SME realities, being the stage of the ESG journey, but also other factors which we will talk about a bit later. So why SMEs? SMEs are central to our economies and to our societies. That's one of the reasons why this report focuses on this particular sector, enterprise sector. About 90% of businesses are actually SMEs, and about 70% of jobs worldwide are created by SMEs. So these are figures from various reports cited in the also cited in the research paper. At the same time, SMEs have a fairly significant environmental footprint. So various reports cite somewhere between 40 to 50% contribution to global greenhouse gas emissions, but also to other types of, pollution, industrial pollution, commercial waste, and so forth. But at the same time, they are really critical to livelihoods. SMEs create jobs for women, for youth. They are a source of innovation. They are often close to underrepresented communities, helping them deal with climate adaptation and other social challenges. So they are really crucial for the way of life in most countries around the globe. But at the same time, they need more support. And the support really needs to reflect, as I mentioned before, more the specifics of of SMEs and the specific challenges they are facing. There is also not so much data on the policy effectiveness in terms of supporting green and just transition of SMEs. So it's a fairly new emerging policy topic, and there is quite little data on different aspects of transitions. And SMEs are also more challenged than large enterprises to actually undergo this transition due to lower access to finance, skills for green and just transition, and also lower regulatory support. So this brings us to the ILO guidelines for just transition. So the ILO guidelines are a global reference for this type of work. The ILO defines green and just transition as greening the economy in ways that are fair, inclusive, and rooted in decent work. So the key principles in the transitions are, on the one hand, environmental sustainability, but at the same time adhering to social justice and inclusion and ensuring decent work for all. So I think what's really worthwhile stressing is that the guidelines emphasize that a transition is successful only when it considers both the environmental and social objectives. They must go hand in hand, otherwise green and just transition efforts might backfire. So bearing this global framework and definition in mind, in the report, we are undertaking a mapping of the different policy instruments for SMEs to support different green and just transitions. In the report, you will see that we categorize them into information tools, capacity building, regulation and planning, finance and incentives, market access, innovation, ecosystems, and data and monitoring. So there is already quite a wide range of policy instruments that policymakers around the globe, especially in emerging and developing countries, are using. To name a few examples, I think that we will see also a couple of them that will be presented by other speakers, but information tools would be, the launch of different toolkits supporting SMEs in reducing resource intensity or helping them learn how to report on their sustainability performance, informing them how to adhere to different labor standards, what does it mean to ensure decent work at a workplace, and so forth. But of course, there is much more. What we see is that these tools are increasingly being bundled, which is a positive development because SMEs face a lot of barriers in their transition journeys. But also one observation was that quite a few of them focus more on the environmental side and consider less the social dimension and things like social safeguards, decent work, and so forth. So this might be some food for thought for policymakers going forward. Now, we already know that there are a lot of tools available, a lot of policy instruments supporting both green and just transition. So why is it that SMEs are still struggling with transition or do not see the benefits of it? So in the report, we are basically going deeper on 3 country case studies to understand a little bit more the drivers of transition. So why policymakers are actually pursuing this agenda, where are the pressure points, what policy instruments have been used, or which public and private actors are part of these efforts, and what are the lessons learned. So in Peru, this might be a case relevant for those working on formalization reforms. So the case documents a legal reform to formalize agricultural cooperatives and some of the benefits in terms of, in particular, just transition that this has brought. to local farmers in agricultural value chains. In the case of Iraq, Amal will talk more to this case, but this case focuses on how to put in place the building blocks of a green ecosystem in a fragile context. And in the case of Malaysia, the report documents a vast array of policy instruments and programs to help to support SME greening and to take the ecosystem for green SMEs to the next level. Although the cases are quite different, I would just like to reflect on some common patterns across these cases. So the first one is that formalization is a key enabler of green and just transition. In two of the case studies, we see that informality is a big challenge for SMEs. I believe that in Peru and Iraq, the figures were around 70 to 90% of businesses being informal. So as soon as SMEs are able to formalize, this provides very strong incentives for them and access to green markets, green finance, green procurement, and so forth. But without it, it is nearly impossible. So formalization agenda is key in the green and just transition of SMEs. The second observation is that especially in countries with strong export sectors, export industries, anchor firms are a key intermediary of transitions, cascading basically the requirements of global markets to their local suppliers. And yes, there are some risks involved. However, there are already some examples, including from Malaysia, on how anchor firms, meaning large companies or medium companies, supporting their suppliers, building their capacity, providing free reporting tools, providing carbon tracking software free of charge, and so forth. However, one caveat is that even anchor firms cannot do this on their own, and so there needs to be strong collaboration with policymakers and the finance sector. And the third common pattern is that piloting is basically piloting. We see basically, I think, a positive development of really taking a learning approach to testing different green finance schemes and bundling instruments. And some of these pilots are described more in the report, but I think that this is really key to make sure that we create a new repository of good practices in this space. And finally, I'd like to summarize the recommendations of the report for policymakers and development partners, which draw on the literature review and on the case studies, and they can be divided into two sets, recommendations for reform design, and the second one is recommendations for reform delivery and scaling. So on the first point, targeting interventions to where the pressures are, meaning that there is a merit in understanding or assessing where the biggest pressure points are in terms of global market expectations, regulatory pressures, economic pressures, climate change type of pressures, and focusing on those segments of SMEs because they already have a natural incentive to actually onboard in this type of programs. The second is engaging SMEs in data collection, in reform design, participatory dialogue, and so forth is really essential for a successful delivery and onboarding of the key audiences of these reforms. The third one is bundling tools. I already talked a little bit about this, but the key is that it's important to recognize that SMEs are facing multiple challenges. And so bundling different instruments and not just focusing on finance or on awareness raising and relying on SMEs to take care of the rest, that might not be the way. So bundling tools is key, and piloting for scale. So yes, countries are already implementing pilots, but this pilot should already embed KPIs on both environmental and social performance of SMEs, and this should be already part of piloting and not left to later, because we might lose track of some lessons learned. On the reform delivery, the recommendation is to tailor support, of course, through learning. It becomes more obvious which SMEs are more responsive, what are the specific challenges of each sector, of SMEs by their size, of SMEs depending on whether they support, whether they sell on the local market as opposed to the export market, and so forth. So tailoring to their specific needs is key. Building capacity of institutions is another point. So yes, green and just transitions require actions of multiple institutions and agencies, multiple ministries, private sector, and so forth. And so it's really key to continuously build their capacity on this new topic. Otherwise, pilots and early stage reforms might get stalled. And finally, investing in data is another lesson learned, I think, and something that development partners in particular can support by helping policymakers think through the key KPIs and simple M&E systems that will help them track SME performance and progress on different types of transitions. So this was my presentation. So I think there were a couple of points that we might discuss later on, but I would like now to actually hand over to Kausalia to talk to the case of Malaysia. So let me just show the slides. And Kausalia, I think...
Yeah, the slides are
easier. You can see the slides, perfect.
Yes,
so
I can see the slides. Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, very good day to everyone. I think we have many people from different time zones. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the 10 minutes of your time to walk through some of the things that we are doing in Malaysia, especially at SME Corp Malaysia. The perspective of developing the MSME sustainability ecosystem. So the program that we have in Malaysia by SME Corp is named as PKS Lestari. PKS Lestari it's a Malay name and it translates to sustainable SMEs. So if I can move to the next slide. Okay, a little bit on the background of SMEs in Malaysia. We have around 1.1 million SMEs, and bulk of them are micro enterprises. So why this representation is quite important is usually those in the small and medium segment find it easier to go into green transition, while micro enterprises will need more handholding. So when we do our policy of sustainability, this is where it has to be segmentized. What kind of policies we're going to do for the micro enterprises, and what are the policies for small and medium. In terms of the contribution of SMEs to GDP, the country's GDP, almost 40% of the national GDP is coming from the SMEs, and half of the nation workforce is from SMEs, around 48.7%. This is where we always say that as any other country, SMEs are the backbone of the economy. And the reason why a lot of focus has been given to SME development, especially now we are moving forward to sustainability. In the next slide, we'd like to segment how do we do the policy, sustainability policy or green transition policy for SMEs. If you look at the profile of SMEs, I mentioned just now, around 1.1 million, bulk of them are B2B and B2C oriented. If you can see the pink box there, 83.6% are not supplying to another larger enterprise or to direct exporters. So in Malaysia, as mentioned earlier in the report, a lot of our push towards sustainability is for those, it's been pushed by the anchor companies, or there's a requirement for you to go into sustainability if you are exporting. So only 16.4% are exporters, direct exporters to EU, US, or other segment, and around 28% are suppliers to multinational companies, government-linked companies, and public-listed companies. So these two segments are those that we call them, you have to do now, because your larger buyers are asking you to do your sustainability reporting. So these are the segments that we feel is very important for them to go into green transition. While another 83.6%, it's good for them to do. Unfortunately, there's no big pressure for them to go into green transition because it's very much demand driven. So if the consumers are not demanding green products or sustainable products, there's no need for this kind of businesses to go into sustainability. So this is where a lot of education will happen. While the green and blue segment, we focus on giving them assistance to go into sustainability. The 83% is where a lot of education, awareness, capacity building activities is happening. We teach them why is it important for you to go into sustainability. So these are the three segments that we are working now. And the policy that we make, the programs that we implement is towards these three segments. In the next slide, a little bit on what is the current situation of ESG in Malaysia. We could talk about ESG. Around 40% said they're aware of ESG. Okay, this 40% is throughout Malaysia. You have the rural, city, different states, 40%. But if you look at the city itself, it can go up to 80%. So overall 40%, and this is quite good jump. In 2021, it was 26%. So in 4 years, we have a 40% number throughout the country. And they said they're aware of ESG, especially those in the technical services, agriculture, E&E sector. The awareness level is quite high. And 37% have said they have adopted ESG practices, particularly the medium-sized firms. Again, I think this is something that it's not a surprising data. Medium-sized firm, most of them have adopted, and certain segment of small and even micro has adopted ESG. 84% of those that are supplying to larger enterprises, they mentioned that they do support the sustainability reporting requirements by the larger firms. So in a way, if you have the scope 3 reporting, usually it comes from the SMEs. So these 84% SMEs are supporting their larger enterprises. That means they do collect data on ESG, sustainability, carbon. So that's something that we feel is very positive. Meanwhile, another 35%, if you remember, I mentioned in the earlier slide, there are around 83% of SMEs do not have any regulatory requirement or do not have any push to adopt ESG. But out of them, 35% say, despite no one is pushing me, no companies or no buyers are asking me to go into green, but 35% of them are very proactive. So they are not mandated to report, but they are taking proactive steps in ensuring the sustainability of firms. So these are some of the numbers that we have for in the case of Malaysian SMEs. And what are the key assistance they required? Many of them said they want machinery equipment because they have to change their packaging. They have to somehow do certain changes to their production line. So machinery equipment, funds to implement ESG, that is sustainable financing, support tools and guidance, ESG talent and expert. That is a quite big lack of ESG talent and expert among the SMEs employees. So this is a requirement for them. And also tax incentives or tax relief. These are the 5 things that the SMEs say that it will make a lot of difference if the government can introduce this kind of assistance or assist them in this area. Moving on to the next slide is where we could see that what are the policy documents available in Malaysia. This is a non-exhaustive list because we have more documents coming on. We have the climate change and taxonomy, national energy transition roadmap, new industrial master plan, national sustainability framework, national climate change policy, as well as in development is the national ESG strategic plan, as well as Malaysia National Adoption Plan. So in terms of policy, I think we are quite advanced. There are many documents that states what are the targets that you should achieve, what is the aspiration of the government. The challenge will be now translating these policies into implementation plan, which many other government entities, we are taking up these policies like SME Corp Malaysia. We are taking up the policies, high-level policies that has been introduced by the government, translated to action plans that eventually we can help or support our SMEs to go into this green transition. Next slide. Next is on, what are we doing? What is the ecosystem of sustainability for SMEs in Malaysia? I mentioned we have a program called PKS Lestari. Under the PKS Lestari program, there are 6 areas that we feel we have to work on to complete the sustainability ecosystem for SMEs. One is awareness education. A lot of awareness activities have been ongoing. We ourselves, SME Corp, starting 2024-2025, we have reached out more to 3,000 participants. This including not only like a seminar or a big group, but also hands-on workshops. And we have published the ESG quick guide for SMEs. A lot of complaints out there. We heard, the current guides, if you talk about the current standard, it's very difficult for SMEs to understand. So what we did is we took all the national policy, we took the existing standards, we came up with a quick guide, which any SMEs, doesn't matter what sector you are, you can easily implement some of the actions for going green. And then, of course, we have the Securities Commission Malaysia and Capital Market Malaysia issuing out the Simplified ESG Disclosure Guide. So when we are building the PKS Lestari ecosystem, is not only the work of one entity, which in the case maybe SME Corp Malaysia, but we also involve multiple government ministries, agencies, including the state government, to work with us to develop this ecosystem. The second is the ESG assessment. First you educate them, and then you have the assessment, because SMEs would like to know at what level of implementation am I. And this is a very simple assessment which is available free for SMEs in our website. They can quickly do a assessment to see am I at least to understand what do we mean by green transition. If you talk about carbon, if you talk about emission, what are the factors that involve in emission? So to make it very easy, or the language of the business, this is what that's the reason why we developed the ESG assessment. Policy support, like I mentioned, the documents, we have multiple documents. We don't lack documents in Malaysia. We have multiple national policies talking about green transition. Market access, this is working a lot with supply chain. As we know, Malaysia is a country that encourages FDIs, foreign direct investment. So we work very closely with the larger buyers, anchor companies, to bring their vendor together with them. When you go into the sustainability journey, you don't go alone. You also bring your suppliers in, which the usually the supplier base are SMEs. Standard and compliance, we have standard agency, standard department in Malaysia called SIRIM. SIRIM has formulated the ESG management systems, as well as reporting requirements. So there's a standard, local standard on ESG, which the businesses, if they want to go just beyond, they want to go further than the assessment, they can go for the ESG standards. And then we also collaborate with Malaysian Boss or Bursa Malaysia, aligning it to the sustainability reporting guide for larger firms. So larger firms has been mandated to do a mandatory requirement to report to Malaysian Boss of their sustainability roadmap. So we work very closely with Malaysian Boss to ensure that the supply base is doing it. And finally, of course, financing incentive with commercial banks. We also have development financial institutions and other government entities looking into financing. And most recent, last year, we announced tax relief for ESG implementation. So this is the ecosystem that we are developing. It's not perfect. We are not there yet. There are a lot of gaps, which we feel that we are working towards to fill up the gap. Of course, we can't do it in 1 or 2 years. We need some time, but hopefully a lot of things, this is something new. We started this in 2024. So I think after 2 years is quite good. We have many things and we hope to do more in coming years. Moving on to the next slide. This is how we facilitate. I mentioned just now, we have those that are exporting, those are supplying to larger enterprises, and also the mom and pop shop. So how do we facilitate the SME journey? We start with awareness. So any SMEs, usually they'll come to awareness. That will be a 1-day course, awareness, and then go to interest, initiation, adoption. In the stage of initiation, adoption, this is where the government financial assistance come in, because you have to know what you want to do and you have to give some kind of interest, go through our ESG quick guide. And once you are sure you're going to start towards this journey, this is where the assistance from the government comes in. We provide financial assistance from a grant, soft loan, and tax incentive for SMEs that are ready to adopt sustainability practices into their firm. Okay, next. This is the ESG quick guide that we have published. It's available in 2 languages, English as well as Malay, the local language. Anyone can download. In fact, all the participants here can download from our website, SME Corp website. You just have to answer the ESG assessment. Of course, this guide is made for Malaysian SMEs. So we look at the numbers, we look at the actions that very much relevant to our businesses. But I believe 80% of the content will be relevant globally to anyone who would like to go kickstart your journey. We have identified 13 indicators. Okay. A lot of this discussion we have here is on green transition. But equally important for us is the S and G element. In fact, to many of our SMEs, we always tell them G is very important. You have to have a good governance first before you can even talk about going into green transition. That's why we have 5 indicators looking at governance. And this current guide that has been developed by SME Corp Malaysia complements the other guides that are available in the country. For example, the IESG by Ministry of International Investment and International Trade. Securities Commission of Malaysia has disclosure guide, as well as by Bursa. Next, I think I have 2 more slides. Okay, and our assessment, I mentioned we have 13 indicators. So these are the indicators we call it the first step for SMEs. You have to start somewhere, especially if you don't know where you're going to start. Look at this. If you know where to start, go ahead. No one is going to stop you. Come to us for financial assistance. We can assist you. But if you are not sure where to start, go and download the ESG quick guide. It's only 13 pages. So we tell our SMEs, don't be lazy to read, just download. And look at these indicators, how you can, in the guide itself, we have some of the actions that you can take at your firm. It's just 50 questions. Next year, we're going to make it a bit tough. This year, for 2025, it's still easy, just 50 questions, answer yes or no, and you can download the guide for free. Next, I think I have my final slide. Next, okay. This is quite important also. From the ESG assessment that the SMEs have taken, we could see in Malaysia, a lot of them has, I think they are more comfortable towards governance and social indicators, because that's something something to do with day-to-day business. However, the lacking is at the environmental indicators. This is where, and if you could see, water management, emission management is quite low. So this assessment has actually helped us to see which are the areas that the SMEs may need more assistance than the other areas. Okay, next. The final slide is what we tell our SMEs, because we have SMEs who say that the most important thing for me now is to make profit, to find new market. Sustainability is not something that I want to even look into now. And they can say, oh, the current situation, everyone is talking about sustainability. It may die down in 5 years time. So nobody is going to talk about sustainability. So we tell our SMEs, sustainability is here to stay. If you don't start now, leaders win and you will just lose. So don't think that it will move away on its own. So this is what we tell our SMEs. And most importantly, our tagline is we tell them, take small but sure steps. I mean, don't get scared of the word green, carbon, emission. These are the words that actually quite scary for the SMEs. So we tell them, take small but sure steps and you'll be there. With that, I end my presentation. Next slide is where our contact details. If anyone wants to download, you can go to our website and download and do the assessment and download the book. Thank you. Pass it back. Should I pass it back to you, Yana?
Thank you very much, Kausalya. Thank you also for sharing the link to the website. I think there was a question on where participants could access some of these tools and documents. So I believe that they can see it here. You might also put it into the chat box for them. Thanks very much. So I will hand over to Amal to share with us more from Iraq.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jana, and also I would like to thank you for the great effort over the past month to collect and also to publish the study. It's very important to show cases from different countries in this world regarding the green SMEs, where it's a very new. And I will not introduce Iraq case, but how the project is supporting this particular issue in Iraq. So I'm just presenting the project that we are working with, which is funded from Italy through ICE, towards more and better employment through enhanced support to private sector with focus on green business in the south of Iraq. Where there is a big need for green business due to the climate change. So to know where is Iraq in this world, so we can go to next slide, please. So Iraq is here, and it's mainly on the Middle East in the world. Next slide, please. So this is Iraq. It's a big country. And if we go to just give a quick about Iraq in the Middle East population this year, there was 46 million. More than 60% of the population are on youth age, which is under 25. Next slide, please, Jana. So more than 60% under the age of 25. It's really a fortune for Iraq to have this the youth in their community, but unfortunately the unemployment rate is very high. The country is highly oil dependent country, and also 99% of export of the oil and 85% of government revenue. So the next one showing the climate vulnerability, the UN NEP ranked Iraq as the 5th most climate vulnerable country globally, facing limited water, high temperature, and also especially in the south, where we have the unscarcity of water, and this make a lot of people lose their jobs, lose their work. This what give us a big picture why green business is very important for a country like Iraq. Next slide, please. Yeah. On the contents of green SMEs in Iraq, it's still in the early stage of greening SMEs and the green. Which different partners, including ILO, with the government, with the employer representative, worker representative, we go with on social dialogue to promote green businesses in Iraq and to put it a roadmap how to expand the green businesses to support startup and entrepreneurs to move to the green and just transition. As I mentioned, it's critical for job and also environmental resilience in Iraq. As Iraq has a lot now of efforts to reduce the climate change effects to the country. They updated last week the second update of the NDC, and for the first time, it's have a chapter for decent work and the role of SMEs, where this will give us a big push to continue our support. Also, they have different chapters, one of it, the decent work. Their target of the NDC to have 40% emission to reduce by 2035, 10% of electricity from renewable energy. I think this information was not in the study because this was published last week by Ministry of Environment in Iraq. And this will mark a shift from planning to implementation phase in Iraq with support from UNDP, ILO, World Bank, GIZ, and UK climate promises. So, as I mentioned, the green SMEs is a part of the NDC for Iraq, the new one. If we go to the next slide, I'm returning to the project, which is ILO is implementing in Iraq from 2023 until the September next year. So we are supporting working on the operation on three levels. On the macro level, we are working with the government and our social partners to support the ecosystem of green businesses in Iraq and the business in general. Also on the meso level, to work on building the capacity of our partners, banks, central bank, and also the main governmental partner to support the just transition to green businesses. On the micro level, we train young women and men SMEs who are looking to grow or develop their businesses and support their access to finance. And this achieved by training on ILO different programs that I will talk on next slide about. So until now, if you can move to next slide, Diana, please. When we start the program, we use Enabling Environment for Sustainable Enterprise, which is ILO tool, to give the project the implementation roadmap. Through the EASE, we provide several support, and the EASE, by the way, it's as I mentioned, it's a tool, but when we make it has 17 factors that we assess to put our implementation roadmap. On the next slide, we can see some of the so we now working with Ministry of Planning. It's leading by Ministry of Planning to develop the MSMEs development policy. It's national wide on Iraq. It has 6 pillars: legal, skills, access to market, access to finance, and also innovation and green. So green businesses is a main pillar in the MSMEs development policy in Iraq, and also we have a pillar for economic and inclusion. The second achievement for the project, which is on the macro level, the second slide. Also, Iraq is working with different partners on a national green framework. And to support this national green framework, we support Ministry of Environment to develop a national green business plan. When we start to work on it, we didn't find that much of data. So we make a survey in order to support Ministry of Environment and Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Trade, and different partners to define the subject or the pillars of the green business plan, and it will be soon adapted by the government to support the green and the greening the existing SMEs. If we go to the next one. In addition, as Yana mentioned, the formality is very high in Iraq for SMEs, especially it's 80% due to the last report. So we try to find a solution to support SMEs and MSMEs, startups to register their businesses. So we find to give them more information how to register and what the requirements of the registrations. And also green businesses, because if they want to register a business which is green, they must go to Ministry of Environment and get a special certification. And after finishing all the work of the manual, we find it is very important to have a policy recommendation to be it's developed by different partners in collaboration with the technical committee that they develop the manual. So this recommendation to ease the registration process and to make it easier for green businesses when it's come to formalization and registrations. And the second one on the macro level. Yeah, in Iraq, the percentage of people with disability is very high due to the different situation that the war and the other situation that was in Iraq many years ago. So the disability is very high. We work with our partners from Iraqi Federation of Industry to establish and launch Iraqi Business and Disability Network. And it's an ILO network hosted by our headquarters with different members in the region. So Iraq now is a member with this network where we support business people with disability to establish their businesses and to be in this network to receive coaching from business owners to enhance their businesses. On the next slide, we can see also that we work with the Central Bank of Iraq to expand their support to SMEs to have green loans and green products to support environmental businesses or the one who want to adapt green practices to their businesses. So this was now cleared by the governor of the Central Bank of Iraq, and now youth who want to start or to expand the businesses to be green can access to a simplified loan. The next slide. All of this work has been developed and also through a social dialogue tripartite plus social dialogue in Iraq through in the different interventions that I mentioned, the government, employers, even the SMEs themselves, we usually involve them in the dialogue and consultation to make sure that each intervention is benefit to end users as well to the government. If we move to next slide, on the meso level, and which is we work with the institutions and the government to, in any project that we are working, we do our best to that the interventions is led by the national institutions and also the ILO program to be adapted and institutionalization by in the country to have an exit strategy. So we have now many national trainers who certified on ILO tool, start and improve your business, the financial education. By the way, on the Start Improve Your Business, it's a big program for ILO it's implemented in 80, maybe 85 countries. But in Iraq, we add a chapter and a business guideline for the Start and Improve Your Business. Also, the financial education. Now we have many certified national trainers in Iraq. How to work in the green economy. Since we started, the green economy was something new in Iraq, and they were usually referred to the agriculture. So we start with awareness campaign using ILO tool, how to work in a green economy, where they can find definition for a green business, green economy, green jobs, green skills. So this was done with Ministry of Labor and Ministry of Youth to raise the knowledge of green businesses in the community. In addition, we have a very important training with our international training center, the ITC ILO, how making green microfinance work in Iraq. And we train on this program the national banks in Iraq, governmental banks, and also many the SMEs, the companies that PFIs who support SMEs. In addition, we have developed an SOPs how to give loans or access to finance for SMEs on a green, and how to support them with the guarantee scheme. If we go to the third level, which is on the micro level with the end beneficiaries, as I mentioned, we started with awareness. So we have many animation videos about the linkage between green businesses and the climate change. All was in Iraqi accent to make it very close to people who listen or also want to know more about the topic. How to work in the green economy, in addition, awareness on the business registration tools that we develop. Adopting all the programs to the Iraqi contents and the manuals to be with the governmental and national institutions. There was a very important initiative that we work on it with the Central Bank of Iraq, with the end beneficiaries. It was the Green Business Camp, where we have many youth on the south who developed a green business plan. And it was a very interesting competition. And from this Green Business Camp, we find a lot of youth, male and female, who have a very interest in Iraq to establish green businesses, but we need to put them on the track on how to establish these businesses. In addition, they need technical support within different sectors on the green. Trainers, many certified trainers on different programs, and also now we are supporting access to finance for 150 businesses to start green or to adapt green businesses. Also, we will continue coaching and monitoring these businesses, and if they need technical support we will provide them through the project. The main thing that we try to work on the 3 different levels to make our interventions through the project and through ILO more based on results and also based on the needs of different cities in Iraq or governorate in Iraq. So when I think as something to take while I'm closing, when it's come to an economy and a country like Iraq, when you work on the policy level and the leading is the national institutions with this policy framework and consultation, also to be leading by the private sector in addition to the workers representative. It's a good push to sustain the services and also to make the interventions adopted and really give the needed for the country. So this is what I want to, we will continue supporting in this project, and more will become soon. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Amal, for this rich presentation, and really amazing to see how you captured the micro, meso, and macro level. I know that's the structure of the program. But there is really a very rich set of activities that you have been working on and engaging different stakeholders. So congratulations to you as well on all this work.
Thank you.
Excellent. So I think we have a couple of questions in the Q&A. I wasn't able to follow everything because I was sharing my screen. So please let me know if I missed something. But we can maybe go through them at first, so that we can also reflect them in some of the answers. There is one question that I think is worthwhile taking already, which is the definition that separates small from the medium, from the large, and from the large enterprises. How often are the as family-oriented, village-based enterprises with direct contract to smallholder farmers? So I just want to address very briefly the question of definition. So in the report, we don't take a uniform definition of SMEs. Yes, the SME definitions vary widely across the countries. I think in the literature review or in reports from OECD and the World Bank, the typical threshold is the employment threshold for micro enterprises up to 10 employees, small enterprises up to 50, and medium-sized up to 250. But maybe as I would like to now ask also Amal and Kausalia, if they could tell us what definitions do they have for SMEs. I think that might help to understand or interpret some of the discussions and the presentations a little bit more. Is that possible, Kausalia and Amal, to tell us what are your country-specific definitions?
So may I start with Iraq? In Iraq, actually, there is no one definition or unique definition. So in the country, there are more 3 definitions. So Ministry of Planning have a definition based on number of workers. Ministry of Industry has another definition based on the also number of workers. The employers has another definition based on number of workers, and also the revenue of the SMEs. In the agriculture, there is another definition based on the number of the hectares that is implemented. But now the country tried to unify the definition of the SMEs in Iraq to make it easier for the government to make the intervention and to make it easier for them, for policymaker to arrange the data of SMEs. So it's a challenge in Iraq, and now Central Bank with Ministry of Planning, with our support, is working to have a unified definition for SMEs. Hopefully, it will be ready soon.
Thank you, Emma.
For Malaysia, we have, in terms of the governance of SMEs, we have a National Council for SME Development. As many other countries, multiple ministry and agencies are involved in SME development. So what we did is we established a council. The council is chaired by the Prime Minister himself, and or if it's not available, the Deputy Prime Minister. So based on the council decision, we have definition whereby the SMEs in Malaysia are segmented. Either you are in manufacturing or services and other sectors. So based on, if you're manufacturing, our definition is based on sales turnover as well as number of employees. And similarly to services and other sectors. So coming back to, and you can get the definition, the details in our website, SME Corp website. So we do have micro. We also break down the big definition to smaller scale. So how we define micro, small, and medium. Talk about micro and small. Yes, usually micro and small are very much family-oriented business. And especially micro is usually one or two men show. So this is how, and in terms of the sales turnover, the highest sales turnover we have is, if you're in a manufacturing sector, you can be defined as SME if your sales turnover is 50 million ringgit or less, and for services sector is 20 million or less. And similarly, we have for small and medium. And yes, most of them are family business.
Okay, thank you very much. I know we'll take all the Q&A questions at the end, but I think this was useful to address already because this report is about SMEs. So I think there is a lot of diversity depending on the agency, on the sector. So indeed, important to keep in mind also as we talk about possible replication of experiences from one country to another. But thank you for clarifying that.
I'd like to take one more question from the same person. Do you consider the smallholder producers as micro or small entrepreneurs? For Malaysia, yes. We have 5 main sectors: manufacturing, services, agriculture, construction, mining, and quarrying. So as long as you fulfill the definition of sales turnover and employment, then you can be defined as SME. Doesn't matter what business, what economic activities you're doing. However, when it comes to financial assistance, we have a different organization. For example, like SME Corp Malaysia, we do not cover the primary agriculture because we have the Ministry of Agriculture looking into it. And construction is covered by the Construction Board of Malaysia. But they are still SMEs. It's just that who do you go to can differ based on your economic activities. So thank you.
Okay, perfect. I'm just being mindful of the time and maybe ask if there are any other questions because I think we have 15 more minutes and we've heard a lot from our speakers, but this is an opportunity to get their feedback. Maybe in the meantime, I would actually have one question to ask both Kausalya and Amal. And I mean, you discussed about the different types of instruments that you have in place currently to support SMEs, different segments, different sectors. In your mind, which of these instruments that you have applied so far have worked the best and that has brought the expected results? and where you think you actually didn't reach the results that you expected. If you could talk a little bit about that.
I can start that. In Malaysia, if you could see, a few of the policy instruments have made differences to assist SMEs adopt or to push SMEs adopt green and inclusive practices. One of the things that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of push. It's due to market. So if your supply chain you are part of a supply chain that requires to be green, and this is where a lot of difference is being made by your anchor company. So we have the capital market and supply chain as one of the instrument that played a big role in pushing SMEs towards sustainability. Second is the financial assistance and guarantee schemes. We have the green technology financing schemes. We also have we call it low carbon facilitation scheme. So we have multiple financial assistance guarantee scheme towards green transition. So that is also a big push. And we also do give incentive like tax incentive under we have the green investment tax allowances and exemption, renewable and energy incentive. We have the net energy metering scheme that has been highly effective, where you have lower electricity costs. So this and finally, of course, this is maybe not so major, is the BUSA, Malaysian Bourse Carbon Exchange, that has provided SME with a real pathway to monetize verified carbon emission reduction. So these are some of the instruments that actually has played a role in enticing or pushing at the SMEs to adopt sustainability practices.
Thank you. And on the challenges or lessons learned from Malaysia, is there anything that comes to mind?
When we started this journey, it's always like, as you know, businesses are, at the end of the day, it's always about making profit. How can this reduce my cost of doing business? But the challenge in green practices is you can't see the result immediately. So that has been some of the challenges that we feel is SMEs do not feel the cost reduction at the beginning of the journey. So this is where we tell them, you start small. That means you target things that can really reduce your electricity bills or water bills. So these things has paid, because they don't look at bigger things, but things that they can start small to reduce their cost of doing business. The other thing is a lot of this peer, not to say peer pressure. If they see that among their industries, there's someone who's doing quite good and there's success stories. So a lot of the time nowadays in our seminars, we highlight success stories of other SMEs that have done this, not necessarily to get a contract, but they have actually reduced their cost of doing business. So this has played a lot of important role in enticing other SMEs to join this journey. So initially it was like they were reluctant, because they could, you have to put upfront costs, but you don't see the reduction in cost of doing business. So that was one of the issues that we felt that was quite prominent. And the other part is sometimes they feel that there's too many tools out there, that too many documents out there that's confusing them, so they don't know where to go. So these are some of the things that the feedback that we got from SMEs at the initial stage when we started doing this. So now we have started streamlining, showing more good stories, showing more day-to-day activities you can do. That has actually helped us a lot in getting them to believe in this. So I think that's some of the lessons that we learned. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kausalya. Amal, would you also like to share with us which policy instruments so far have worked the best and where you are still fine-tuning further?
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, maybe when it's come to policy, if the policy is tackling real obstacles, it's usually succeed and implement in a good way. So in our support, working on national SMEs development with the green business pillar, green business plan to expand the green businesses in Iraq, also simplified the business registration, which has led to increase and incentives for formalization, green finance, all these together as a completed plan or complete each other on policy level, make a difference. It's tackle real obstacles in Iraq. If it's come to how to scale these interventions, we need in Iraq now, after a unified definition for SMEs, we need, let's say, national definition to green business or greening businesses, because until now, Iraq, they don't have this definition. They use what's found, and mainly now they use the definition of ILO. So we receive a request from Ministry of Planning that they need, if there is a national green business definition, maybe it will help them to get more digging on this very important pillar. Also, while we have working with them on policies and on strategies for green businesses, they found that the efforts is here and there. So now there is a discussion in Iraq to establish SMEs authority to monitor the implementation of the policies and the green business and the plans that Iraq is developing now and working on it. Because until now there is no authority, no one umbrella for the supporting of SMEs, and the discussion were to see from behind countries, maybe Kingdom Saudi of Arabia, because now they are supporting SMEs in a great way, so maybe it will be one of them. In addition, to have intensives for youth who want to start their green businesses, such as taxes, procurement preference, and maybe awareness campaign would be very beneficial on this, on our support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Amal. Pilar, would you maybe like to take over here?
With pleasure. Thank you very much. We are nearly 25 minutes past the hour, so I think it's a good moment to maybe just reflect a little bit on what our presenter and panelists said. We heard a lot about how tackling support for SMEs really requires another lens, to think small, think in terms of the particular nature of SME support, but at the same time, think about scalable solutions, right? Here, SMEs represent the lion's share of employment, yet there are many SMEs, and you need to find solutions that can be rolled out at scale. So that's one of the challenges we heard, as well as Jana also highlighted the multidimensional challenges that are facing SMEs, and that these solutions really need to be bundled in a way to scaffold SMEs on different kind of challenges they're facing. And that is a very strong message for policymakers and development partners as they move forward in their support for SMEs and their transition. So from Malaysia, we heard a lot that making the case for sustainability, and that this is something that SMEs need to start tackling because it's not going away, is easier for those SMEs that are exporting, right? So export pressures are driving ESG compliance, but those that are not quite there may not see the imminent need to do the transition. So it's how to create that awareness and how to sort of bring them on board as well. One of the other things we saw as well highlighted in the Iraq case is that there's issues with formalization as well. So one of the things that we're concerned about is that really there is a formalization is a gateway for accessing incentives and compliance systems and procurement. So part of what the concerns should focus on is formalizing SMEs to open the door to greater support for them. The two big aspects, I think, that that we faced, I think, when looking at this topic is we talk a lot about the green transition, but not necessarily always on the decent work and inclusion transition, on the just transition. And the case of Iraq really highlighted that inclusion in the transition is something that is very important. And one of the lessons for partners is to embed decent work and inclusion constraints from the start, not trying to have it be an afterthought. So we appreciate the challenges also that we face moving forward. There's institutional fragmentation in how these solutions are presented. There is a dearth of SME level data that is a challenge when analyzing the results and how we're doing and the impact. And there's also, we see across the board limited green finance access, which is an important part. SMEs usually do not have the capital to implement green solutions and transitions. So with that, I want to maybe just leave you with these thoughts. How to, balance environmental upgrades with job creation and inclusion, how to finance SME greening at scale. I think those are challenges that governments and policymakers and development partners are having to answer now going forward. And just to end, I would like to thank very much Jana for this thoughtful presentation and report. Please do go to the DCED webpage to download the report and read it. It's a very rich report that goes into depth on the aspects presented. I want to thank also our panelists, Amal and Kausalia, for sharing their country level experiences. I think it really helps understand from the, implementation aspect, how to translate this policy sort of overview. And finally, I'd like to thank the coordinator of DCED and in charge of producing this event, Ella Duffy. Thank you so much for making it seem seamless. And also thank you to Melina Heinrich Fernandez, which is the coordinator that supports the Business Environment Working Group. Thank you, all of you that attended from different work zone and time zones. Your support is greatly appreciated. And with that, I'll close the event. Thank you very much, and good day and good evening to all of you.